Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, I invite you on a journey, not just through history, but through a way of thinking that can transform your mind, your learning, and even your English skills. This is not just a lesson, it's an exploration of thought itself. Imagine a world where every question opens a door, where every answer leads to a new question, where true wisdom isn't about knowing everything, but about having the courage to say, I don't know, so let's find out. This was the world of Plato, one of the greatest philosophers of all time. A student of Socrates, he was more than just a thinker. He was a seeker, a questioner, a challenger of beliefs. And today, we will discover how his way of thinking, his habit of questioning everything, can help you not only think more deeply, but also learn English in a way you never imagined. Though, in today's video, you'll learn English through one of the most powerful ideas in philosophy, the Platonic method for deep thinking. I'll tell you a fascinating story, speaking clearly and with pauses, so you have time to absorb every word. Because learning a language isn't just about memorizing words, it's about understanding ideas directly in English. So, relax, enjoy the story, and let your brain get used to the natural rhythm of the language. And stay until the end, because after the story, I'll teach you some key vocabulary to help you use today's words in real-life English. By the way, where in the world are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. I love seeing how far this message can reach. And if this video helps you, don't forget to like it. It really makes a difference in helping more people find these lessons and join our community. Now, if you're ready to challenge your mind and expand your understanding, let's begin. Plato was born around the year 427 before Christ, in Athens, a city bursting with culture and political energy. He came from a noble and influential family. His real name was Aristocles, but he was given the nickname Plato, possibly because of his broad shoulders, or as some say, his strength as a young wrestler. As a child, Plato was surrounded by comfort, elite education, and the finest teachers of his time. He studied poetry, music, mathematics, and physical training. Everything in his life pointed to a future in politics, just like many of his relatives. But something inside him felt unsettled. He saw a city full of empty speeches, unchecked ambition, and a constant hunger for power. Politics left him disillusioned. He began asking questions no one could honestly answer. And that's when he met the man who would change his life forever, Socrates. Unlike the sophists who charged money for their lessons, Socrates walked the streets speaking with anyone. Rich or poor, famous or forgotten. He wasn't after fame or wealth. He asked simple questions that shook people's deepest assumptions. Plato was fascinated. He turned away from the traditional path his family had planned for him, the path of political prestige, and chose to follow this strange, barefoot philosopher who believed that true wisdom begins with doubt. That meeting didn't just change his life, it would eventually change the course of Western thought. Plato spent years by Socrates' side, but he wasn't just a student, he was a devoted follower. In Socrates, he saw not only a teacher, but a reflection of the kind of man he wanted to become: free, honest, and courageous. Socrates challenged the powerful with simple questions, And he did it with humility, never claiming to know everything. To Plato, this wasn't just philosophy. It was integrity. It was truth, alive and breathing. But that time came to a brutal end. In 399 before Christ, Socrates was put on trial and sentenced to death. They accused him of corrupting the youth and disrespecting the city's gods. But the real reason was fear. He made people uncomfortable. He exposed the ignorance of those who pretended to be wise. Plato was there, among the few who stayed until the end. And he saw something unforgettable. His teacher, calm and composed, accepting his fate, drinking hemlock, dying not as a criminal, but as a man loyal to his conscience. That moment shattered Plato. He was filled with anger. How could such a cultured and democratic city kill the wisest man who ever lived? Grief, rage, and disappointment drove Plato to leave Athens. He traveled for years, visiting Egypt, southern Italy, and studying with different masters. But no philosophy felt as alive as what Socrates had taught him. So Plato made a choice. He would not let that light fade. He would write. And through writing, he would create something the world had never seen. He turned his teacher into a character. In his dialogues, Socrates asks the questions, challenges the ideas, and leads the reader to think for themselves. But these were more than tributes. Behind every dialogue, there was pain. Grief transformed into purpose. That's how the Platonic method of thinking was born, what we now call the Socratic dialogue or dialectical method. The idea was simple. Don't impose answers, but guide the mind. Don't give ready-made truths, but ask questions that set you free. Later, Plato built his own philosophy. To him, the world we see is full of illusions, temporary and flawed. True reality exists in the world of ideas, where justice, beauty, and goodness live in their purest form. With this vision, he founded the Academy, around 387 before Christ, the first real university in Western history. And one of his students? A young man named Aristotle. Plato's journey isn't just the story of a thinker. It's the story of a man who lost his mentor, faced exile and doubt, and still chose to transform pain into wisdom. He didn't stay silent. He wrote. And through his words, he taught us how to think. Plato believed that most people live like prisoners inside a cave, watching shadows on the wall and thinking that's all there is. This is the idea behind one of his most famous metaphors, the Allegory of the cave. He said we're surrounded by illusions, by incomplete truths. And we only escape the cave when we decide to think for ourselves, to question what is real, and to search for the light, truth. But why does that matter to you, as someone learning English? Because learning a new language is like leaving the cave. In the beginning, everything feels confusing, limited, and far away. But the more you ask questions, observe, and try to understand the meaning behind words, the closer you get to the light. Plato also spoke of the world of ideas, an invisible realm where pure concepts like justice, courage, and love exist in their perfect form. The words we use are just imperfect reflections of those eternal ideas. And when you learn English deeply, you're not just memorizing words. You're connecting with ideas. You're accessing a new way of seeing the world. This way of thinking influences leaders around the world. Steve Jobs, for example, believed that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, a belief deeply rooted in Platonic thinking. He searched for the essence behind the appearance, just as Plato searched for truth beyond the visible world. Ray Dalio, one of the greatest investors alive, uses the method of questioning everything to make clear decisions and avoid illusions. That's pure dialectical thinking. Oprah Winfrey, throughout her career, has promoted self-knowledge and reflection as tools for personal freedom. Her journey shows that it is possible and necessary to escape the emotional cave. LeBron James, in the world of sports, practices meditation, reading, and mental reflection before big games. He knows that mastering the mind is the first step to mastering the body, a lesson Plato also believed in. These people might not mention Plato every day, but they follow his path. They don't stop at easy answers. They think deeply. And you can apply this to how you study English. Instead of memorizing, ask questions. Instead of just translating, reflect. Instead of repeating, try to truly understand. Ask yourself, why is this word used in this way? How can I use this in my real life? What does this concept truly mean? That mindset, going beyond the surface, is exactly what Plato taught. And it's what makes learning real, lasting, and meaningful. Now, let's learn some key words from today's story. These are words Plato probably never used in English, but they express exactly what he taught us. Inquiry, a deep investigation or search for answers. Example, Plato believed that true wisdom begins with sincere inquiry. Essence, the purest and most fundamental part of something. Example, Steve Jobs looked for the essence of ideas, just like Plato. Illusion, something that seems real but isn't. Example, according to Plato, the visible world is full of illusions that keep us from the truth. Reflection, the act of thinking deeply and carefully. Example, learning English with reflection is more powerful than just repeating words. Wisdom, knowledge used with balance and good judgment. Example, Plato wasn't seeking information. He was seeking wisdom. Now it's your turn. Try using these words in a sentence of your own. Write it in the comments, and I'll be reading every one of them. Today, you didn't just learn about Plato. You learned about the power of thinking, about the value of asking questions, and about how philosophy can transform not just what you know, but who you are. Learning English is more than collecting vocabulary. It's a journey toward mental clarity, new connections, and personal growth. So now, let me ask you, what cave did you begin to leave today? What new idea helped you see the world differently? Write your answer in the comments and try using the vocabulary you learned in this video. Your participation is part of our dialogue. If this video inspired you, give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. That way, more seekers of wisdom can walk this path with us. And remember, speak and think in English. Live with wisdom.